Hi YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to Outsiders. And tonight, although I'm going to have to stay fairly quiet, I hope you can hear me, we're going to be discussing, let's put a little light on this, shall we, and make it a little easier. We're going to be discussing the Minaret Roxwell's idea about building a campaign setting, a system, and pretty much fleshing the whole thing out together collectively as a unit of people. So I initially came up with a concept for the system, and I did a couple of days ago. I released that video to you guys and girls on YouTube, and unfortunately, one of you quite rightly pointed out, actually, although it's a very good idea, Sean, the problem is it is too close to Savage Worlds. So that got me scrambling, and that got me realising that when I looked at I've got Solomon Kane. It's the only product I've got for Savage Worlds. I haven't really delved into it that far, although I would like to a little bit further. I realised that really, without thinking, yeah, it is too close for comfort, and we need something that we can stand on its own 2 feet, on its own merits. So I wasn't completely, I went back to the drawing board. Now, very simply, I've got a piece of paper here, and excuse me, sorry about that. I've not been, as you know, I've not been 100%, but this piece of paper represents an idea still based on the original thing. I'm going to show it again in a minute and explain it in more detail. So what I've done is I've come up with a very simple formula and strategy for taking something from the original concept, twisting it, working on the laws of diminishing return, and producing what I believe will be a retro system with some differences and some uniquities. Now, I'm putting out there, really, this is almost, really hot off the press, this. I've only been working on this in the last day, so it's not fleshed out, it's not play tested, it's not developed in any way, shape or form. It's very raw, but it does give the bare bones of what I think is a very good system. Now, what I'm looking for from you all is your feedback on it, what you think of it, whether you think the idea's got merit, whether it works and it can run. Now, if you like it, then you've also armed with a rough outline of how it works, because it's so simple. It's brilliant, and it just then means I've just got to flesh it out, and very quickly we should be able to put it into some sort of basic PDF formula, and produce a little, as I say, up to about 20-25 pages PDF download for you guys and us and girls, and then we've got something that we can base ourselves off. We already have a rough idea for our campaign setting, which some of you are kindly fleshing out, which is brilliant, and there's some great ideas out there. So let's get into this. So you'll notice, if you look very carefully, running along the top here, there's a line, and it starts off 4 dots to number 4, 6 more dots to number 6, 8 more dots after that to number 8, 10 more dots to number 10, then 12 more dots to number 12, and then 20 dots, and it would be to number 20. I haven't written that on there. Now, the idea behind this is that when somebody chooses, and this is going to be statless, there is no stats, and I'll try and quickly explain that at the end if I may. But let's take the reason I've done it this way as a formula. Let's say that I've got key skills that I'm utilising at the moment. So let's take the obvious one, attack. So you've got attack skill. Now notice I've just called it general attack at the moment. I haven't defined it, haven't developed it. Let me explain. So you've got attack skill. How good are you basically? What's your character's basic ability with his weapon? So you roll a d20. Now it's called diminishing return for a reason. So you start off with a 20, you roll that. Let's take the best scenario. Somebody rolls 20. You'll notice that after counting out 20 dots, it puts them here, 2 points ahead of the 8. So their default dice for weapons is d8. So in general, when they're picking any weapon up, it's a d8. Now, there's 2 ways to, the way I look at it, there's 2 ways to improve this. You can either generally try to work at improving the overall dice that affect that one area of expertise by working on this chart, or because you know the default dice for a particular weapon is d8 and you want to take it to the next level, you can concentrate on that weapon, which will be cheaper, experience points wise, just for that weapon. So it gives a very simple difference between how you can use your experience points. One, to generally improve the category, or second, to break it down further and actually generally improve certain skills. So if we take defence in the same way, you roll for your defence. Let's say the guy rolls 11. 11 points would take him just above the 6 line. And therefore, you would have a default defence of 6. Now, you already probably have an idea of how I want to work the system. And it's very simple. If I'm attacking with a d8 and you're defending with a d6, basically it's an opposed roll. Now there are other factors, of course. There could be the equipment you wear, you might have a unique skill. They come in later, but at the moment you get the general idea. So if I roll, let's say I roll a 5 and you equal it, sorry, you beat it, then obviously you've defended. But let's say you only rolled a 1, but I rolled a 5, the difference between the two is 4. So very, very simply, you can see that on this diminishing return thing, it works very well, because when you get to the upper end of expertise, which is the hardest to reach and the most difficult to ever get there, to get that D20 dice, a lot of work. But even a pitchfork farmer would still get a D4 default dice. So he could, in theory, get lucky, although the odds are against him. I mean, you might cut through half a dozen or more before you even get wounded, which is very heroic, and is the sort of field of the game that I wanted to create. So you can then break it down further. You can do the same strategy for wounds, so you get default dice for wounds. You could do a similar strategy for, I broke down 3 key areas: magic, combat and stealth. But you could take magic as a generalisation, or you could actually say, and this is what I'm working on at the moment, you could say, right, let's work out what background points people have, and then they're allowed to put it in so they can take an area that they can develop into. So you've got these background points, you can now take, there's 2 basic, sorry I'm whittering now a little bit, but basically there's 3 key areas: magic, combat and stealth, and depending on how you use your background will determine what you can actually pick up and do. So it might be possible at the beginning of the game to be able to specialise in 2 areas. So you might be able to have that classic, so you can multi-class your character. But I'm not using any stats, I'm not using any actual classes. It's about giving the players a nice, robust system with choices that they can flesh out further. I'm doing the same with magic. The idea I've got behind magic is I'm pilfering something I did from my Outsiders system, and I'm probably going to port it straight in. So it will be a rune-based system, and the idea behind the runes will be that if you've got access to the magic because of your background, because you put your points in there, then you've got access to all these runes, and you choose the ones that you want to actually use. And there'll always be an initial default dice for all of them, but also then there'll either be where you improve the whole collection of them, or you actually improve the individual. And that I actually quite like. I'm still working out the formulas for that. But that's the general premise of it all so far. And I needed to touch base with you and give you that because it's important you understand where my mind is going and what I'm trying to do. So let's quickly recap it so people are clear. It's a system of diminishing return. You start with a D20, and that will tell you where you go from. Now, if you want to then try and improve this particular line forward, you have to then pay a certain amount to get a roll. Now, the next roll is a D12 roll. Okay? If that doesn't take you over that line, for whatever reason, to the next default line D10, then you've got to pay a certain amount again to get the next dice, which is then a D10 and a D6, till eventually you're at the point where you've attempted expertise so many times, and then at that point you can only improve it very slowly for a lot of XP. So it probably is worth your while to actually try and improve the individual skills rather than the whole. And I really like the mechanic, and I really do think it can work. I'm still fleshing out some of the things about how the background will work and stuff, because we're not using a system of stats. Because it's about visualising the character. It's about quickly working out what you've got. And this diminishing return thing is really easy. Roll a d20, right? That's your starting point. So that's your attack, your defence. We could even break it down really simple. We could say, right, you make 1 roll for combat, you make 1 roll for stealth, you make 1 roll for magic. I could have another area, and you can move them around, so you can choose where you want to place them, and that defines your skill starting points in those. It could be as simple as that, and then you can develop out further into the skills, but I will be working on that. So I needed to share it with you. Hope it makes sense. Hope you like what you see. Desperate for your feedback. Going to be critically important. We're going to take that a bit further. I'm looking forward to seeing more videos on the initial setting. I do like the idea of Bitter Winter. The City of Bitter Winter to me is excellent, and I really like that title, so thank you for that suggestion. So that's probably what I'm going to call it, the City of Bitter Winter, which is excellent. Some great work out there by some of you already. Really looking forward to seeing how we flesh this out. I am also in the process of trying to get a very good artist involved who will design the city for us. And I'm going to do a little video on what I think a good city should look like, and hopefully the aim of achieving what the Bitter Winter will look like going forward as well. So I'm going to work on that, but it's not going to be quick, guys. I'm going to be putting my focus into the system, and that is the thing that Meta Rocks wanted me to do most. So I'll be looking forward to all your feedback. Anyway, thanks again. I've been Sean Connors. Happy gaming to you all. See you soon. Bye bye.